What's the next move for the left? What's the next move for the Democrats? Adam Green, co-founder of the Progressive Change Campaign Committee, with us tonight. And Michael Eric Dyson, MSNBC political analyst and professor at Georgetown University. Great to have both of you with us, gentlemen. Adam, you first. What does the left do at this point, seeing this huge victory, this huge sweeping election taken by the Republicans last night?
We have to inspire people with big ideas. That's the short answer. You know, the president was right that 2/3 of the folks did not vote. And part of the reason was that there was not a unified, bold economic message when jobs is the #1 issue in red states, purple states, and blue states. But the most popular campaigner on the campaign trail was Elizabeth Warren, packing the House in red states and purple states. And the reason was that her economic populist message of expanding Social Security benefits, holding the big guys on Wall Street accountable, and reducing student debt is popular everywhere. So we need to rally around big ideas, and we hope that that's the direction that the president goes, not just the lowest common denominator with Republicans or just agreeing to right-wing ideas. That would be the wrong direction. So Adam, are you suggesting that if the Democrats had followed what Elizabeth Warren has been touting all along politically, that it would have been a different outcome last night? I'm absolutely suggesting that. If every voter or potential voter woke up yesterday and thought that low-price college education was a possibility, that Medicare for all was a possibility, that expanded Social Security benefits was a possibility, things like that, or that their jobs would be greater than they are now, things like that would have motivated people to come to the polls. But really, what was Election Day about on the economic front? It's hard to come up with one crisp message that unified Democrats. We need Democratic unity behind a bold economic message. And that's why, again, the president can't just do lowest common denominator here. Mitch McConnell will not be out front for a Elizabeth Warren-style message. But that's where the people are. Red state, blue state, purple state. Dr. Dyson, what do you make of all of this? Where did the Democrats miss the mark? Okay, they lost big time last night. Where do they go from here, in your opinion?
Yeah, I don't think we should overinterpret what happened, even as we should, as you said, acknowledge where we are and move forward. First of all, when the president said 2/3 of the people who did not vote, that's signifying. That suggests that those of us who didn't vote, those of us out there who complain and bemoan what's happening, have really contributed to our own demise, so to speak. And furthermore, that in order for us to have a nation that is unified, we have to tell the truth about the suffering of the poor, the suffering of those, the economic populism that Brother Green referred to here, that Elizabeth Warren used to pack the houses, is extremely important. So let's not take the wrong message here. The wrong message would be Mitch McConnell has the right ideas, the literally right ideas, and as a result of that, we've got to tack to the right. We've got to give up on all the liberal, progressive, and left-leaning platforms that we're able to put forth. No, the president, as you said, something very important. They've been after him. He has been put out of office symbolically by these folk from the very beginning, that is, those who oppose him. So this is nothing new for him. The only new reality is now it's explicit. So put your cards on the table. They have a side, you have a side. True compromise means bringing your particular perspective to bear and then using their perspective as some kind of debate parameter there.
So Dr. Dyson, what do you expect the Republicans to negotiate with on the president? What are liberals going to get out of Mitch McConnell? Where's the give? What's your anticipation there?
It ain't much, because if he's talking about trade and he's talking about corporate taxes, he's talking about benefits to the rich. He's talking about those at the top. Mr. Green talked about Elizabeth Warren's economic populism when you're speaking about holding the big banks accountable, holding the big financial institutions accountable. Well, we know that the Obama administration has not necessarily gone after them in an aggressive fashion. But what is important here is to talk about the debt load that the students bear, to talk about the average American in terms of the housing crisis that continues to affect especially poor and working poor communities. But we're not going to get much out of the Republicans when it comes to that. So the president still has the power of veto and still has the power to talk about immigration, still has the power to talk about what the job situation is like, and look, can tout his own success. The enormous economic success that has come from the jobs that have been added to this economy time after time. The president and his followers must get out there and become better evangelists for the redemption that they've already brought.
All of those good numbers never showed up last night. It's almost as if, okay, we've done all we're going to do. I mean, I get the feeling after last night that if the 47% tape had not come out, you know, when it did, that this would have been 2 years earlier. I think that I don't want to say that there's going to be a big fight on the left, but Adam Green, there's going to be some positions that are going to be staked out on the left that simply are not going to be the same. And here the president today is searching for all the right words and hitting a number of different subjects almost to the point of rambling. I mean, he's looking for answers. Where does he get his direction now?
Well, again, he should get his direction from Elizabeth Warren and the Elizabeth Warren wing of the party, or frankly, just the American people. I mean, this is not rocket science. I mean, this is not a 50-50 nation. When it comes to investment in jobs, when it comes to lower price college, when it comes to Medicare for all or expanding Social Security, these are like 70% to 15% issues with 10% undecided. It's not really hard. So the real question is he going to search for D.C. bipartisanship, trying to get along with Mitch McConnell, or Main Street bipartisanship? And that's the direction we just simply need to go, and that will set Democrats up for success in 2016.
They have the power. They've never liked the New Deal. Get ready in the budget fight coming up, folks. They're going after Medicare, Medicaid, and Social Security. They're going to try to privatize everything they can get their hands on. We better be all hands on deck and engaged. Adam Green, Michael Eric Dyson, great to have you with us tonight. Appreciate your time.